Good morning. My name is Samuel Morris. This is Elementary English, and I'm glad you're here this morning. Today we're going to go over determining main idea. This is a big one that you're going to use in every grade level and even outside of school. It's the skill you might use most often when reading. So let's think back just a couple of weeks. We talked about authors' purpose, author's perspective, and while those are very important, determining main idea is something that overarches the authorial composition of it. It's really at its core what the writing is about. So the main idea is defined like this. Main idea is the most important idea about the topic. Now, if you think back about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago, we talked about topic and theme. And remember that topic is the person, the place, the thing, or the idea that the writing is mainly about. Now, main idea is going to be the most important idea about that topic. This will make a little more sense as we look at a few examples together. But it may be best practice, and what we'll do today is to find out the topic first. Identify that person, that place, the thing, or the idea that the writing is mainly about, and then identify the most important idea about that topic. Sometimes the writing will even do it for you. Sometimes the main idea appears directly in the first few sentences. So remember, we're going to identify the topic first and then find the most important point or the author's most important idea about that topic. For our first example, we see our National Geographic article here about the peregrine falcon, one of my personal favorite animals. Let's read this together. These falcons are formidable hunters that prey on other birds and bats in mid-flight. Peregrines hunt from above and, after sighting their prey, drop into a steep, swift dive that can top 200 miles an hour. Peregrine falcons are among the world's most common birds of prey and live on all continents except Antarctica. They prefer wide open spaces and thrive near coasts or where other shorebirds are common, but they can be found everywhere from tundra to deserts. Peregrines are even known to live on bridges and skyscrapers in major cities. Identifying the topic of that article was pretty straightforward. It was the title, Peregrine Falcons. This article is mainly about the animal, a peregrine falcon, and their habitat, their hunting patterns, things of that nature. Now that we've identified the topic, let's think again to the main idea, the most important idea about this topic. We have quite a few to choose from, but remember, sometimes it's going to appear in the first few sentences. We'll look at those first few sentences one more time. These falcons are formidable hunters and prey on other birds and bats in mid-flight. Peregrines hunt from above, after sighting their prey, drop, and then here, the third sentence, we see it. Peregrine falcons are among the world's most common birds of prey. That's it. We learned that the most important idea is that peregrine falcons are more common than you might know. And here are a bunch of facts about those birds. So the main idea, again, is finding out that topic and then the most important idea about that topic. In this article, it's that peregrine falcons exist, they're common, and they're actually in more places than you might think. For our next example, we're going to look at a quick article that was written by Kim Miller. This article is about snowflakes. Snowflakes. No two snowflakes are exactly alike. Snowflakes form in clouds, and their different journeys to the ground affect their shape and size, giving each snowflake its unique identity. Very cold clouds contain water droplets and ice crystals. As water droplets attach themselves to ice crystals, they freeze, creating an even larger ice crystal. When this happens, water molecules line up and form a six-sided shape, called a hexagon. That is why all snowflakes are six-sided. The temperature of the cloud determines the shape of the ice crystal. The amount of moisture in the cloud determines the size of the ice crystal. Likewise, the more water there is in a cloud, the bigger the ice crystal will be. When several ice crystals join together, they form a snowflake. As snowflakes tumble through the air, whirling and spinning, they each take a different path to the ground. As each snowflake falls, it drifts through clouds with different temperatures and moisture levels, which uniquely shapes each snowflake. The topic of that is the title, snowflakes. Right, the topic that what this article was mainly about was snowflakes and how they were formed. Now let's think about the most important idea that takes place in this article about snowflakes. We have a lot of really specific details about moisture levels, ice crystals, cloud temperatures, hexagonal molecule patterns. But the most important idea, again, let's look at the first few sentences and see if we find it. No two snowflakes are exactly alike. That sounds like it to me. No two snowflakes are exactly alike. And off of that main idea is when we learn all of the different details and the process of how those are formed. So one more time, let's look at an example together, and you're going to practice with the same steps. Identify the topic, what the article is mainly about, then what the most important point or idea is about that topic. For our last article, we'll look at this 2014 piece about the Kansas City Monarchs on blackpast.org. The Kansas City, Missouri Monarchs were the most prominent baseball team to play in the Negro Leagues. Formed in 1920, they were also the longest running team in the leagues, disbanding in 1965. Many famous players were on the Monarchs roster, including Hall of Fame pitcher Satchel Paige, the man responsible for breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball, Jackie Robinson. The Kansas City Monarchs won several championships, including the first Negro League World Series in 1924. Formed in 1920 by owner J.L. Wilkinson, a white businessman who had formerly played baseball, but who turned to team management after an injury, the Kansas City Monarchs grew out of the old all-nations barnstorming team that crisscrossed the American Midwest just before World War I. Other players came from the 25th Infantry Wreckers, an all-black baseball team recruited into the U.S. Army primarily for their playing abilities. Let's think again. What was that mainly about? What was the topic? What was the article mainly addressing? We can look to the title too. The Kansas City Monarchs baseball team. Now, the most important point. If you had to tell somebody what you read and one thing about the Kansas City Monarchs, what would it be? We can look at the first few sentences again. The Kansas City Monarchs were the most prominent team, the most prominent baseball team to play in the leagues at that time, and they were here in Kansas City. Now, you could also go on to say the really interesting facts about Satchel Paige, Jackie Robinson, and even the U.S. Army's involvement in that formation. But the most important point is that the Kansas City Monarchs were a baseball team that existed and did really well, and is an important part of our history here in Kansas City, even today. So as we think about identifying topics and main ideas, remember that it's oftentimes going to be communicated to you right away. You'll find out the topic, what the article is mainly about, oftentimes in the title or in the first few sentences. Then it's up to you to determine the most important, salient part of that article And a quick trick to help you is, what would you tell somebody the article was about? If you only had one shot, one sentence to explain, this is what I just read, which sentence would you use? Most of the time, that's going to be the main idea or the author's most important point, most important idea, the main idea, hence its name, of the article. So this concludes our lesson for today. Remember to practice this week. Pick up an article or find one online, find something interesting to read, then practice communicating the topic and the main idea to somebody else before they read it themselves to confirm whether that was the topic or main idea. This is a really fun one to play with friends and family, and you can pick different articles and all learn together. So it's been my pleasure to have you in class today. My name is Samuel Morris. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.